All right, welcome to Buddy Book Club. I'm Dylan here in a podcasting studio, close, near, with my wing commander, Keith. What's up, buddy?
Whatever you do to this pod, no sardonic talk. Sardonicness will not be allowed on this podcast, okay?
What is sardonic?
Did you not notice that? The whole book that was sardonic was used maybe 50 times.
Grimly mocking or cynical. Here at the Buddy Book Club, we're breaking down bestsellers, and this week we'll be discussing Star Wars Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn. And we won't be doing it sardonically. If you'd like to recommend a book for us to read or reach out to us about any past episodes, you can visit our website, buddybookclub.com, or slide into our DMs on Twitter or Instagram, Buddy Book Club Podcast. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. So please download and subscribe. Keith, Heir to the Empire, you threw this out there, and I love Star Wars. I know you're a huge Star Wars guy. Mm-hmm. I honestly haven't experienced much of the Star Wars universe outside of the 9 movies and The Mandalorian and Rogue One.
And Andor, you've watched, I assume. Right?
I started watching Andor, but honestly, the wife, isn't really a big fan, so I couldn't continue
Andor,
watching.
I think, is the best thing that Star Wars has released since... I think it's better than Rogue One.
And I liked it. I watched the first
it's really,
episode
really
and a
good.
half, and she was asleep, and I just kept watching it. Stayed up past my bedtime. Mom, sorry. But I really enjoyed it. You know, usually I stick around when she goes to bed. Mm-hmm. It's time for special movies, and I'm not talking about pornography. I'm talking about like scary stuff that she doesn't watch. No,
the beat pad.
The beat
pad.
Sorry. Yeah. Come
TM.
Heir to the Empire was published in 1991. Did you ever hear about this growing up?
I think I saw some people in my school reading Star Wars lore, but I could barely read at that point, so it didn't even cross my mind as like a book option.
Yeah, you were looking at the cover being like, that logo looks familiar, but what do those words mean? But yes, okay, it was published in 1991. I hadn't heard of it either. It was seemingly a big thing on the scene at the time for the Star Wars fans. It takes place in the year 9 ABY, and it's 5 years after Return of the Jedi. Vader and the Emperor are dead. The Rebel Alliance has set up a new government, the New Republic. The fight's not over, though. The remnants of the Imperial Starfleet are mustering their forces behind a new leader, Grand Admiral Thrawn. And before we get into the stock up, stock down, so those out there, in case they're concerned, it is not canon. The Lucas people came out and said, yes, you can make this, but it's not canon. Okay, let's get into stock up. I'm going to start with stock up because I don't want you to steal it from me. First stock up, Wayland, a.k.a. Dubtown. Right. Buddy, why didn't you tell me the Emperor kept his secret treasure trove in your hometown?
You know, a lot of talent, a lot of people have come out of Wayland because of this. You know, that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, you spent your whole time under the water in the pools, shaving your legs, trying to break Wayland swim records with your swim cap on and your nose plugger thing. And instead of looking for the Emperor's treasure, it was sitting there right in front of you.
Yeah, no, we were protecting it. What do you mean?
They kept saying Wayland, and it honestly just threw me off. Look Keith up in his yearbook, do some Googling for all those people out there.
Jesus Christ.
Find out who he is, send him messages.
Cut it. Cut that.
We can't cut it because it's one of my stock ups. Cut the whole thing.
That's true.
Oh, I got you burned. What'd you have for stock up?
Leia is a bigot.
Whoa!
The theory that she is. The theory. So I don't know if this is a theory, but
okay.
I'm coming up with it if it isn't one. This book really solidifies it for me. You've seen, obviously episode 4, where they don't give Chewbacca a medal. It's well documented.
Yes, of course.
She does not give the medal to Chewbacca. But now we flash forward, what's this, 10 years at least forward? That probably happened
the first 9 years, yeah, because it's 9 ABY.
So they've been friends for 9 years.
Yeah.
Chewbacca's probably the best man at the wedding.
I was going to say, he was probably the best creature at the wedding.
Yet, they go to visit Kashyyyk, which is Chewbacca's home planet, and Leia doesn't know any of the language, even though she's been friends with him for 9 years, hasn't learned Ola or anything of the language.
She knows the language. No, hold on. She does. She's not, like, fluent, but can speak some Wookiee.
She doesn't know what Chewbacca's saying, ever.
Yes, because Chewbacca has a lisp.
No, they say that Chewbacca speaks normally. The guy that they was speaking with.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. The other guy
Han knows what Chewbacca's saying. Like he knows the language. So it doesn't know any of their customs, doesn't know any of their culture, doesn't not learned anything about them, not one thing about them. It's a little bit weird to be like, imagine if you had like a friend that was Italian or French or Japanese, and you've known them for your whole life or for 10 years, you've been really good friends with them, and you're like, you go to their house and you're like, oh, I didn't know you did any of this stuff. I didn't know anything about you. It's like, what? Like, you've been friends with me for this long. Yeah. You don't know anything about it.
They give you chopsticks and you start trying to have a lightsaber duel.
Yeah. What are these things? I've never seen these before. It's like, bro, I've eaten these 100 times.
As I'm going to pat myself on the back right here, my best friend from home is Japanese. And like his parents came from Japan, so like really Japanese.
And you go to his house and you're like, what are you guys saying? Why are you speaking like that? What's happening? What is this language you're all of a sudden speaking?
His grandmother looked at me and said something to me in Japanese one night at dinner, and I said, pardon me, I don't speak Japanese. And she said, you handle your chopsticks better than Hayato. And I said,
wow.
Oh, not
what
too
a compliment.
Shabby. Yeah. So shout out to my girl Bubba-sama. We love you. R.I.P.
What really grinded my gears mostly about this was that the term alien is thrown around in the book a lot. Mm-hmm. And I initially thought it was just for the new like race or whatever that comes that's trying to attack Leia or kidnap her.
The Nogri.
They don't know what they are, so they're like, that's alien to me, which makes sense. Like, you just don't know what it is. But then she visits Kashyyyk and she calls the Wookiees aliens. So she's basically defines anything that's not human as alien. Which, you're visiting their home planet. You're an alien. What are you talking about, alien? It was so disrespectful, in my opinion. I absolutely hated it.
In this universe, alien would be somewhat of a racial epithet. Because, like you said, alien should be for more of like the unknown as to where, if you know them, like you know they are Wookiees. Like, that is what they are. They're not aliens.
Yeah.
Like, alien's like an unnamed race because you just aren't familiar with it.
And I get it if Chewbacca came to Earth and he was the only person that was like him. You'd be like, oh, that's an alien. I get it. But now you're on their home planet. You can't be like, literally, aliens around me. Like, no, you're an alien. The definition of alien is like someone that's foreign to the country. You're alien to them.
Yeah.
Just last thing is that Luke is like the most patient. And he's their brother, but like still, it runs in the family. Luke is the most patient, like, I won't strike you down, Darth, or the Emperor, won't fight them at all because he's like, I'm about nonviolence and all these things. Lo and behold, these other assassins come, he's chopping them down left and right and murdering them like his dad would do. Like, he's like, they just hate, I think this whole family, it started with Anakin when he went to the Sand People and just murked all of them, kill all the kids.
Anakin did the Sand People.
Yeah, and he's just doing it now. There's no, like, thought of... well, I don't want to kill these people because, they're people too. He's just like, oh, they're aliens. I'm just going to rip them apart and murder their whole families, It's like, wow, this really runs in the family. The Skywalkers. Bigots.
I always found that interesting about the Jedi, about, like, Luke obviously not wanting to fight those people. And there was this level of, like, monk vibes to the Jedi in the movies. But they obviously had to kill people, right? Like, they have lightsabers. Yeah. They're killing people for sure. Even Obi-Wan, when he's in the cantina, like, slices some dude's arm off. Like, get fucking close to me. I'll cut your arm off. Watch out. I think they obviously kill a lot of people, Jedi. I think they do it when it needs to be done. I'm going to support your Leia, but I don't think I can support your Luke there.
Okay. I think it's more of a family thing. So.
Yeah. They were taught. It's in their blood. It's in their blood.
It's in their DNA. Yeah.
They got Confederate flag tattoos on their shoulders.
Get these aliens out of here. That's what she's saying the whole time.
Are you insinuating that all Southern people are racist?
No, that was my European accent.
You are terrible at accents, so I believe you.
Thank you.
My next stock up is managing. Hashtag managing.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be argued that the Emperor and Vader as his proxy lost the war against the rebels due to bad management. They Michael Scotted it. They didn't delegate well. They led using fear and condescension, and they let their egos get in the way of taking care of the Imperial fleet and their holdings, which is really what you need to do in a time of war. Not Thrawn, though. This Thrawn guy, he's open to other people's ideas. He knows when to cut his losses. Yes, he may use his Nogri bodyguard Rook to murder subordinates here and there, but he's just holding people accountable for their actions. He is a prudent businessman. He murders people when they need to be murdered to show, hey, this stuff isn't going to be tolerated, this kind of level of negligence, and we got to step up our game. And there you go. He's the best coach out there, is really it. And Pellion's even like, oh, when he sees Thrawn back out of the fight at the end, he's like, oh, you know what? Maybe Thrawn would have been better than having Vader or the Emperor at the Battle for Endor. So, guys, figure it out. Managing, it's not that hard. You just gotta delegate. You gotta lead. You gotta say, hey, you know what? If I ask you to mop up shit, it's because I would mop up shit, or I have mopped up shit. That's where Thrawn's coming from. Yeah. How do you feel about Thrawn?
That's a great call, and I have a stock down that's very similar to what you're saying here. But I was on a softball team. This is my favorite softball team.
Thrawn was on your softball team?
No, but Thrawn's mentality was exactly what we had in this softball team. This is a really well-oiled, everyone is unified together, hustle team. One of my most favorite sports teams I've played on. And our motto on the team was, we will absolutely tolerate physical mistakes, physical errors. That happens.
Yeah.
You bobble a ball, that's okay. We will absolutely not tolerate mental errors. Not hustling to first base, not knowing where to be, not knowing what to do. That is not allowed. So that's exactly what he did. He said, hey, everyone makes errors. Everyone makes physical mistakes. But mental, not learning, not being taught, I have to correct that. And that's why someone has to die. And I said, that's a great management tactic.
So did you have like the dog from the
kill people when they didn't run to first.
Attacking people?
Yeah, we just murder people that didn't run to first base. Yeah.
Okay, well, I want to unpack this a little bit. Did you guys have a conversation about this? Like, was this like everyone, hey guys, get together? Like, and who said it? Who comes in and is like, hey, mental mistakes aren't allowed?
It starts the head coach, which is Dr. Hogan, obviously, and you just respect him through and through. Okay. But when the best players on the team are the ones that are hustling the most and the ones that are doing the little things, best players on the team wouldn't go for home runs. They'd go for ground balls between short and third because they knew that would be, it's a good way to operate on offense rather than trying to hit a deep ball that's going to be caught most likely. So when they're doing that, that sets the tone. When the guy that can hit a home run says, I'm not going to hit a home run because the team doesn't need me to, that I appreciate that.
So it was more of a lead by example than explicitly said.
Yeah, I was the worst one on the team, obviously. So they're really just talking about me.
Stock up for me is art. So not a big art guy myself, unless the art is films and literature. That's my wheelhouse for art. I wish I was, but I've been to fancy places like Rome or whatnot and like walked through some artsy places. And to me, it's whatever. Or even, I go to the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston and I'm just like, oh, like some of this is cool. Like I can dig it. But supposedly, if you understand a culture's art, you'll know everything about that society, especially how to crush it in the palm of your hands. So Thrawn, he's once again our boy Thrawn, on top of all culture's art, which is very surprising considering how many different societies there must be out there that you're going to come in contact with. Like there's one in the book, he's like, oh, I haven't experienced this person's stuff. It's like, what? One? There's probably thousands of galaxies and planets or whatnot.
He doesn't call them all aliens either, by the way.
No, of course not. So I guess if you are able to understand a culture's art, you're going to know everything about the society, and you really don't need to know anything else because you can kind of know everything. So I gotta step up my game, is what I'm saying. I gotta step up my art game.
Completely
I think I'm going to go into like landscape art. That's what I'm going to look for.
That seems like that would be more of it into the war strategy of like how you see things is how you would, landscape things.
Ooh, the art of war. Double meaning. Sun Tzu, he knew it was up.
Well, I'm going to tie right into that. Mine's a slightly different thing. Yours is art. Mine is Star Wars art specifically drawings and non-canon drawings stock up. I did my research into these characters after because I wanted to learn a little bit more about the Star Wars lore.
You went to the Wikipedia?
Wikipedia. Did you have a little gander at the picture of Mara Jade by any chance?
I didn't, no.
Listen, I've never been into the, the little anime stuff, if you will, or any of that game, but I might change. I might be into it. Take a look at the picture of Mara Jade, and it might change your perspective on things. Or just search Mara Jade
Lots
Wiki.
of stuff's getting spoiled right now for me, so.
Do you see the picture? Well, look at the eyes, kid. I mean, If it doesn't move for you, I don't know what to
I'm
do with
seeing
that.
like almost like a painting, but it's like a real life painting, and she
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
a
looks.
redhead.
Yeah, she kind of looks like an '80s porn star.
It changed my life a little bit.
It made you move.
I certainly got out of my seat. I'll put it that way.
I guess she's Mara Jade Skywalker, so now I know that.
She's got a little, who's the redhead in X-Men going for her, too?
You're talking about Jean Grey? You talking about Jean
She's
Grey?
got a little Jean Grey. Little crazy eyes. I like it.
Oh, yeah. I love it. We're off the rails. Did you have any other stock ups besides Mara and Jade? She's like an 80s porn star. It's hilarious that you're into that.
You're saying that in a negative connotation. I don't get it.
No.
Are you not a little bit interested in what's behind those eyes?
You know who she looks like, actually? This photo, if we're talking about the one from Wikipedia, she looks like a young Reba McEntire.
Oh, that's awful. Not even close.
Yeah, it's directly on point.
No.
All right.
No.
When you do a clip, I want to splice together this picture of Mara Jade from Wookiedom and a young Reba McEntire, or even Reba from the show Reba, and they look exactly the same. Did you have any other stock ups?
I never, no more stock ups, no.
Well, talk about your stock down then.
Well, stock down Sherlock Holmes. So you kind of already alluded to it, but Sherlock Holmes' ability to draw conclusions from minute observations is kind of what makes him who he is. But just watch some paintings one time for me, and you'll fucking figure things out. The other thing I kind of wanted to mention around this is that if you told this same story from the perspective of the Empire, then they'd be like the Minutemen. They'd be like George Washington. That'd be Thrawn, you know, like the guy that's like fighting a much bigger army now, a much bigger resource country than their original religion or empire is being desecrated. That's what's happening. So Thrawn is literally winning battles with less people, less resources. He's inspirational. He's much better than Sherlock Holmes. So Sherlock Holmes stock down.
Yeah, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
Exactly.
I've talked about hardcore history in the past on this podcast, which is the best podcast. If you're listening to us, turn it off and go listen to hardcore history.
You've also said that multiple times.
But you do think about perspective is everything when it comes to this stuff, and especially this story. I actually don't know what Thrawn's principles are. Like what are they fighting for? It seems like they're fighting for some enslavement aspects, which we don't support. Sometimes the little guy, you got to root for him. It comes naturally. It's like he's got nobody. He's doing surprise attacks left and right. It's Bunker Hill over here. Excuse me, they fought on Breed's Hill. I really did enjoy Thrawn. My first stock down are, and speaking of not enjoying the good people, Jedis. An unintelligent tree salamander makes your powers obsolete. What's cool about being a Jedi anymore? Luke, the whole book, Luke is just a guy.
Yeah.
Just another guy with a lightsaber. It's like Ron Jeremy later in life when he needs Viagra. It just doesn't make any sense. Honestly, though, I do have to ask you, I personally hate the Achilles heel type cliche. I didn't like it when it came, and I don't really love Superman much anymore. I did as a child, but just like, oh, there's kryptonite. There's this one thing that turns all of your powers off, or whatever the case is. I hated that. I understand, like, the things I like is in Harry Potter, like, you lose your wand. Ooh, like, you can't cast spells. But you're still a magical being, and like you can still sometimes do magical shit. But it makes sense. Like your wand is what you need. That makes sense. It gets away from you. But just inventing this tree salamander creature that you can just like put in your pocket, and it all of a sudden, if a Jedi's around you, it doesn't work. I hate that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't care for it.
It's so easy. It's just it's boring. It's easy. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, if you're going to give me a book after I've seen Luke not really even be a Jedi. We didn't even really, in the movies, we didn't really see him be a Jedi. A little bit here and there. He's still learning. So now it's 5 years later. You assumed his Jedi prowess has expanded.
Yeah, and you'd think his confidence would grow a little bit. Instead, he's like, I don't know how to teach very well. It's like, oh, just go to community college or something. Take a couple courses. Like, come on, Jesus.
They didn't really explore the why of that. Because I assume Luke was concerned in some of the ways that Luke's concerned in the later movies, when it's
Right.
his concern is I'm going to teach someone and they're going to go to the dark side. Like I'm going to give them all this knowledge and they're going to go to the dark side. It happened to Obi-Wan. He's seen visions of it happening with him and Kylo Ren. So that makes sense. Like his concern for that, but they don't really say, all they say is what you said is like, he's like, I don't know how to teach. I don't know what to do. It's like, buddy, just start from the get-go. Just start from the beginning and go there. Like, teach them what you know. It's as simple as that. So him, like you said, being not really super confident and then also not having Jedi powers and not showing us those Jedi powers, because that's what I want to see. All I saw from him was convincing a guard to let him through and doing a couple flips in the movies. It's like, okay, those are cool. But now let's see badass Luke. And instead we got no Jedi powers.
Yeah, we got castrated Luke.
And we got mechanic Luke. We're all of a sudden in the Martian all over again. And Luke's stuck in his X-Wing. And he's like, so first I checked the hydraulic calibrators. And they weren't working. Yeah. So I said, R2, well, how do we fix the wings? It's like, oh my God. I really just didn't like Luke at all in this.
I said the same thing with Leia. Leia's whole story was awful. There was like no need for it. Anytime she went to like a new place, like I'm going over here to like do this. Then she didn't do any of that, and then just got into a fight scene, and then it's like, oh no, and then I'm gonna go over here and do that. Oh my God, we got into another scene where I'm fighting. It's like, all right, like we get it. Like you're not doing anything the whole book though. Like your whole thing is just to get to a place and then get attacked, then leave, then get to a place and get attacked, and then leave.
And Leia was always punchy in the movies. She was fighting back. Like, nah, like, she stood up for herself.
Even Han, too. Han was saying sweetheart in a good way. And I was like, ugh, that's gross. When he's saying sweetheart sardonically.
Hey.
I love it.
I wish their relationship still had a little bit, but a bite in a cute way.
Yeah, and then get some, scenes of them, some cartoons with it, and then I'd be in. I mean, wait, what?
Mara Jade has entered from stage left. Yeah, I just thought I wanted more from the character. Did you have any other stock downs?
Last one is just enemies to lovers trope stock down. We were just mentioning it. I liked the cute Han and Leia. I don't like you. No, you don't like me type thing. Mm-hmm. But like when Luke and Mara Jade, my girl, start doing this, I'm like, I know Luke's supposed to be a Jedi and that's supposed to basically be a priest. You're not supposed to get married or anything. But he's going to marry this girl, isn't he? And then, lo and behold, I look in the wiki, the lore or whatever, he gets married. I'm like,
oh, so they're not. I just saw that her last name was Skywalker. They're not related. He marries her.
No. Yeah. In the Star Wars universe, you're not allowed to get together with someone unless you're like in a third grade playground level of attraction where you're just like, I don't like you. It's like, well, they're getting together.
Yeah.
That's it.
Quick favorite scene. Did you have one?
They're all coming together at the one base, and he's like hiding Luke in the closet, and R2-D2's in the closet, and Han Solo's there.
I thought Luke married Mara Jade.
Well, he stayed in the closet, like I mentioned, but they're all together. I'm like, oh shit, this is kind of coming together now. Like all the characters are meeting, and then didn't really end up the way I wanted it to. But
when they didn't realize that Luke was actually in the ship,
that's like classic Star Wars right there. You know what I mean? Where they're all in the same place, they're all somehow ended up there, and it's like the worlds are all colliding. That's like perfect Star Wars, but it didn't really work out that way. I like the build up. What about you?
I honestly don't know. I don't know.
All right. Okay.
I think maybe our introduction to Thrawn in the sense of, who is this guy? What is he about? And you start to figure it out and you say, oh, okay, like this is a cool character. Like this is, if they're going to create someone from thin air, and I knew ahead of time that this was a trilogy.
And he didn't have to have powers, which I assumed he would, which I liked.
Yeah, exactly. He was just, his powers were like Batman's powers. Just a really strategic, knows how to move shit around. I like that. I think when they went to Wayland to see your swim meet in 2004, when they went to Wayland, that part was kind of cool because he didn't bat an eye and everyone else was like freaking out. And he was like, no, I know exactly what's going to happen here. So he just seemed like a worthy adversary, and I was down with that. It wasn't Snoke. It wasn't this like thing in midair who doesn't
too soon
mean anything.
It's obvious too soon.
I think probably character-wise, we both like Thrawn for.
I like Talon Card.
Talon Card. I liked him too. He was Han-like, but actually like ran a very successful business.
He's like a mix between Han and
Lando?
Yeah, he's like Han and Lando combined. I was like, I like this guy.
Yeah, he can build a huge conglomerate corporation like Lando, but also has the like quick guile of Han.
I like that. Yeah, quick guile. Nicely done.
I don't even know if that makes sense. But here it is. Yeah, I liked him too. I was actually, if I was interested in following up in the future, he's a character that I'd be interested to see how it goes. Because he really was playing both sides, but in a way that befit himself, yet he still had some level of like a moral code. Okay, let's get into some love-hate. What'd you love?
This probably isn't like the best love, but in a lot of the books that I read that I've liked, I get done with it. I'm like, man, that was great reading. And then I look back, I'm like, that wasn't that great of a book. Like, story wasn't that great. Like, I'm like, oh.
Which, can you give me an example of one?
A lot of the ones I'm thinking of are ones that are psychological thriller ones, where when you like talk about it out loud after the fact, you're like, oh, I guess that really didn't make a ton of sense. You know what I mean? But you're like, when you're in it, you're like gripped. You're like in the whole time, like ready for it. This book's the opposite, where when I look back at it, I'm like, like I could see this being a good movie if they just kind of honed in on the characters, honed in on some of the more of the action scenes. But when I was reading it, I was like, I got to get this done with. Like, I was never that excited to read it, even though it was Star Wars. Like, I never visualized the fight scenes very well. It's just something about it. I don't know. This is more of a hate.
Yeah, where's your love?
When I'm looking at it from 10,000 feet high, the characters that they added in were good. The premise was good. There's a lot of good stuff here. You know what I mean? Like, this has the making of a really good movie.
So
if you were to do it.
I think it has the making of a good cartoon. I think it'd be a great cartoon. Because one is it's several books long, so it could be, and it is somewhat episodic in that there were moments that's like you could see the to be continued. Like they capture Luke, it's like okay, to be continued. Or Luke's stuck in space, it's like to be continued.
It was very episodic. That's a good point. Yeah,
there's a lot of stop points within it that would be a good like 30-minute episode, and I think it would go well to a cartoon. And although the narrator here, I thought he was really, really good, the voice actor. For this version that we listen to, because he does all the voices. His Leia was woman-like. It was really good, you know?
Mark Thompson.
Mark Thompson, yeah.
He's
the only character I didn't love was his second Wookiee, the non-Chewbacca guy.
That was super annoying.
It's like, turn the volume down. I don't know what... But he was really good. But at the same time, you still have all of these original actors alive. And especially in the 90s, they were all alive. You could have done this with the original cast and actually put some money behind it. I mean, most of the money would have probably gone to them. But it would have been really interesting in that kind of a format. Mark Hamill's a phenomenal voice actor. His Joker is the best Joker that's ever been done. I love the idea of this being a cartoon that I would potentially be interested in watching. I don't love the audiobook. My love is Kashyyyk. It's something that if you think about, because we had now seen Kashyyyk briefly in episodes 1, 2, and 3. I don't remember which one that Yoda gets taken there. I think it's 3. So we see like very briefly at the end of 3. But up until this point, like we hadn't seen what Kashyyyk looks like. And Chewie's an awesome character. Everyone loves Chewie. I'd be fascinated to see what his world is like. And so the time when Leia is walking through Kashyyyk, it was cool to see them explain their engineering and the creatures that live there and stuff like that, where I then felt, oh, this is a cool part of Star Wars that I'm interested in. You know, what's Kashyyyk like? Then you have Star Wars Battlefield 2, which has Kashyyyk as a level.
Oh, yeah. That's what I was going to reference.
Yeah, has Kashyyyk as a level. It is obviously not as elaborate and beautiful as it's portrayed in this book, but it's a pretty good level.
Gives you an idea.
Yeah, it's a pretty good level. I like Kashyyyk.
Yeah, anytime they kind of introduce a new planet, and it's probably not as hard or easy in a book, I love it. And that's the whole premise of Star Wars in my mind, is like it's an open world. Anything can literally happen because you can travel the universe, you can go to new planets, you can meet new people that aren't called aliens. They're just
new friends.
Right, exactly. Also, why episode fucking 8 was terrible, because they literally did none of that. But that's neither here nor there. You knew it was going to come up, just hating on the new episodes. Andor was so good because it doesn't need to be Star Wars. You could literally make that same show without any Star Wars backing at all, and it'd be an amazing show. And the fact that it's in a Star Wars world, I was like, holy shit, this is so sick.
Yes, and so that's the point with like all of this movies, whatever you need. It has nothing to do necessarily with the characters. Like Heir to the Empire relied so much on, we have Han, we have Luke, we have Leia, we got Chewie, C-3PO, R2-D2, they're all coming back. And
a lot of references to the movies too. A lot of references.
Yeah, it just, to me, I needed more story and less. Even The Mandalorian, it's more of like, did you ever watch Hercules with Kevin Sorbo?
No.
Oh my god.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. That and like
Xena Warrior
Princess are back to back.
So it was kind of like that in the sense of, okay, like there's an ultimate goal, but there's just like these episodes they're going in on.
Yeah.
But at least The Mandalorian, like there were great moments in there. It had nothing to do with the fact that it was Star Wars. It was just because this guy has this code that he's living by and whatever. So, yeah, it's just unfortunate they leaned so much on the characters making this a thing as opposed to
as a big crutch.
The actual story. And I'm talking about mostly the movies, but also this.
I have to imagine too that like there hadn't been any Star Wars material really released since 84 at this point. 7 years later, a book like source comes, so you want to like relive the movies because it was kind of just like you needed to throw it in there, and this is before all they do now in movies is like tie back to the old stuff.
Yeah,
like,
I wonder how much
callbacks.
Yeah, I wonder how much was out there. And don't get me wrong, if I was 25 or whatever the case was, and I had seen Star Wars when I was 10, saw the Return of the Jedi, and rented the other ones on VHS, I would have been jazzed to read this. My buddy passed me a Star Wars graphic novel in high school or middle school, and
Mara Jade in it? Or?
Pass it under the stall in the bathroom. He's like, we got 5 minutes between class, go. It was like a throwback. So it had none of the characters. It was basically about these two Sith Lords thousands of years ago. Like that was the story about like this like Sith Lord and his apprentice, because there could only be two, right? Is like the whole thing. And so the Sith Lord like has an apprentice, then there's this other guy, and so it's like him becoming his apprentice. I can't even remember the beats of it, but it was so good. It was an awesome graphic novel. And we're like, why isn't this a movie? This would be incredible. And it had none of the Star Wars characters that we know and love. It's just a cool story that happened to be in the Star Wars universe. That's all you need. What about hates? I mean, that's not what we've been doing for the last 20 minutes. We've kind of
just been doing that, yeah.
What did you think about Joris Saboth, the Jedi clone?
I didn't really get that character at all. The clone thing thrown in there was kind of weird to me. I didn't understand that. And then him being amazing at piloting or taking people's bodies over and being a good strategy. Like, why? Why are Jedis better? I don't get that. Why are Jedis good at war strategy? Is that like a proven fact? Like,
no, I think he could.
A lot of that just didn't make sense.
Like he could basically like quicken up the communication.
I almost would think that 10 people that train together, or like 5 people that train together, let's say on a basketball court, that know where everyone's going, that's going to do anything, that'd be better than you being able to take over the 5 people and like move them around the board.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I'd rather 5 brains working together than one guy trying to do 5 things at once.
I think his influence was more on a larger scale. Honestly, it didn't make a lot of sense, but I understand both sides of it. I think just in general, well, for one, if you can clone this Jedi, why wouldn't they have just cloned a bunch of bad guys as opposed to like Boba Fett? Obviously, Boba Fett, don't get me wrong, amazing choice. If you have choices, clone Boba Fett, not bad to create an army. But you could have just cloned some Jedis and given Jedi powers that were bad. So that was confusing.
If you're going to introduce some new force power or introduce something, it's got to be like only this person could do it. If you're going to introduce something that's an anti-force thing, like you're talking about, like all those things that just grow plentiful, it should be like there's one that's grown every 1,000 years, and like you have to protect it like with everything. It's like this one thing that's a counter.
Yeah,
there's not a million of them. There's no possible way. Like if it dies, it's dead.
Or it's like cicadas or something that only come every 17 years or something. It's like, oh, this is a special year. Like this is the year that they actually like mature.
Like, oh, we just clone things now. It's like, it should be like he got damaged or like almost got killed and like somehow he got cloned in that something crazy like that, not like an everyday occurrence.
Yeah, he jumped into some ray beam and because of that he split into two or whatever.
Them just introducing this stuff like, oh yeah, everyone knows you can just clone Jedis. Like, what?
Yeah. I honestly just don't think his character, George Sabaoth, was fleshed out. He was in there for a little bit.
It didn't make any sense. Why do you want to kill people that visited
the
Emperor's
we didn't
thing?
really have enough information about him to be that interested in him. And he should be super interesting because he's the only other Jedi alive that we know besides Luke. And his whole point is like he just wants Leia's babies so he can teach them to the dark side. But even that was just like, oh, okay, there's two others out there. Okay, we'll find them. But then he just spends his time doing like, no. Oh, I'm thinking about the Imperial Starfleet. No. We're going to continue with the hates. The politics side of this, I was not interested in at all.
No,
I did not care about the New Republic issues, the new guy coming up who's, putting Admiral Akbar in jail.
That was such a throwaway at the end. I was like, what? Did we have enough to know? Like, that was such a throwaway last minute
Also,
thing.
I guess I didn't know this. I'm not a big enough Star Wars fan to know that Admiral Akbar's people are like the calamari people or something.
Good appetizer?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, because his head he's like a squid head person, so they're the calamari people or something. I was like, oh, yikes! Like, no one could come up with a better.
Leia probably just
that.
calls him that.
Yeah,
it's just Leia's derogatory term for him.
Yeah, Leia's a meeting with Akbar, and she's like, assistant comes in. Oh, can I get you anything? She's like, plate of calamari, extra marinara sauce. Akbar's sitting there like, that's my cousin on the plate. Yeah, it all just didn't make a ton of sense, to tell you the truth. It seemed like they just didn't know where to go with this. And I know it's a trilogy. I know it's introduction, which I'm going to get into my next hate, which is trilogies in general. I don't like trilogies, even though I love trilogies, if the first one sucks. Because now this one just had an ending that was very whatever. The ending wasn't that interesting. And everything was left open. Nothing was closed. Not anything at all. So in order for me to get any sort of closure, I have to read 2 more books that I didn't even like the first one.
We've read a few starts of trilogies in this, and we've always had that same take. So it's not a hate on this one in particular. I remember hating that one that had won the Hugo Award, and I was like, this book sucks.
Oh, the
you need to be
season?
good on your you need to be good on your own. I don't really get why you can't just be like, oh wow, they really built a good world here. Nothing happened, but the world is good. It's like, no, you need to have a compelling story in the first one, so I want to go to the second and third one.
The wife, we were at a social event, and the wife says to some guy who likes to read books, she goes, oh, Dylan does a podcast about books. I was like, please don't. Don't say that. Just keep that shit to yourself. This is my secret place. And he's like, oh, great, whatever, this, that, and the other thing. And he's like, what books you read? And I'm like, oh, this, that. And this was early on when we had started this. And I was like, oh, this, that, and the other thing. He said, what's the most recent one? I was like, oh, we read the 5th season. He was like, I love that book. Oh, my God, I'm going to listen to your podcast. I was like,
I hope if you never talked to him since then.
Never talked to him since then. I was like, please don't listen to that. We fucking hated that book. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible.
I remember on the pod, I was just hating on you. You're like, it was okay. And I'm like, no, it was terrible.
I think if I'm going to rank the 50 or so books we've read, it'd probably be in the middle back part. All right, I think we don't want to hate on this book anymore. Like we've beat the dead horse. Do we have any listener mail?
No, but I did cast the characters. If you
you did. Good for you. What? Just Mara Jade. Keith just furiously looking up redheaded porn stars.
Thrawn. I did Michael Fassbender. I just thought he's just like a calculating dude. Just seems like he'd like art and then also could turn around and blow up a starship.
I didn't, but he has a good face for putting a bunch of blue on and giving him red eyes. He's got this like tall, slender, long head. Like I could see not alien. He's a beautiful, beautiful man. There's no question about that.
He's also married to what's her name is.
I don't know. Mara Jade.
Pretty much.
He also like speaks several languages. He's
cultured.
Yeah. He could talk about the art stuff like for real.
Yeah. For Talon Card.
Yep.
All right. Based on the audiobook, who would you have gone with? Because this is basically what I casted him as.
I have no idea who. Russell Crowe? I don't know.
No. Do you remember the voice in the audiobook? It's Antonio Banderas. He has like that accent, the exact same accent.
Is Antonio Banderas in the book, or are you saying the guy?
No. That's the guy does that accent.
Got you. Yeah, he's like, I am telling card.
He's classy. He's also good. Makes sense for he'd be teaching a younger protege in Mara, my girl.
Yeah. Well, couldn't we also have the guy that plays the Mandalorian?
Oh, yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
Because he's already in Star Wars, but at the same time,
Yeah.
I think he's only shown his face once as the Mandalorian, so it would be fun.
Yeah, no, it makes
Pedro
that'd make a lot of sense.
Pascal, sorry.
Yeah, Pedro would be a great casting. Kids on the fly just doing them. I like it. And then Mara Jade, I just did, Zoe Saldana, who plays this character in every single movie she's in, Guardians of the Galaxy, and in the Blue Men Group movie.
Star Trek.
Oh, and Star Trek. Yeah, every movie she's in, she's like the person that like hates the main person initially, then it becomes a love interest. with them. So that's her character. She does it perfectly every time. So why would I?
Yeah. Why
if it
flip
ain't
the
broke,
script?
don't fix it. And she's also gorgeous. So we love that. She's no Mara Jade picture, but drawing, but she's almost
Reba McEntire.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh God,
I'm casting Reba McEntire for Mara Jade.
okay, fair enough.
Okay, well, I guess neither of us are recommending this book. I wish it was better, honestly. I really do.
Yeah.
I wish it was. I mean, obviously, that's something that anyone would say, but it had a ton of the things that could make it good. And maybe it just needs you to read 2 more books of it for everything to come together. But I can't do it. I really can't do it.
With all the callbacks and everything like that, and the music and everything, it would honestly make a great kids book if they dumbed it down and made it less political and just like callbacks to old Star Wars and like action, and it would make sense. But they try to do way too much in this book, just way too much.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Because when you said Star Wars and the opening credits to the movie is like, ba, ba, da, da. It's
ready after that.
I was ready for it. So, hey, you know what?
That's too bad.
You tried, and I appreciate you trying, because
You
you
gotta
know
throw it
what we
out there
support
sometimes.
here? We support hustle. And this was a physical mistake. It was not a mental mistake. So
Thank you.
We're
Tied all back together.
we're okay with this miss here. Will my next suggested book, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, be a miss? You're going to have to tune in next time to find out.
Oh, wow, look at that. To be continued.
Yeah, to be continued, indeed.
We're doing next Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabriel Zevin. So pick it up. Giddy up.
All right, Keith, as always, it was a blast talking to you. Even though we didn't love the book, we both love Star Wars, and we both love each other, and that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. You're not an alien to me, D-Man. You'll never be an alien to me.
We'll catch you guys for Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, so get it from Libby if you don't have it. All right.
Bye now.
Bye now.